You probably started playing GTA 5 and never looked at your settings, which is a huge disadvantage for you versus players who have changed their settings to improve their gameplay. So that's why I will show the best settings that you should use in GTA Online for both console and PC. To find your settings, open your pause menu and go to the right till you see settings. We are starting with one of the most important settings, targeting mode. In online this will be grayed out. To change it you have to start creator or go to story mode. You can set it to assisted aim or free aim, with assisted aim being that when you try to shoot someone it auto locks on that player. With free aim on the other hand you have to manually aim, which is way harder. With assisted aim you also have two options, full or partial. With full auto aim you can also switch between targets by flicking your right analog stick while aiming, so the best targeting mode in GTA 5 is assisted aim full. You can also use free aim assisted, so mostly manual aim, but it helps you a little bit to lock onto players. If you change this setting you will be in an online session with other players that have the same targeting mode as you. The next one is a fairly new setting, sprint mode. You can set it to tap to sprint or hold to sprint. The standard way is by tapping, and in my opinion it's better, but it's really up to you which one you choose. The downside with hold to sprint is that when you move your left joystick a little bit without pressing the sprint button you already start jogging. However, with tap to sprint you can make these small adjustments, and sometimes that can be helpful. For example, if you're doing a tightrope. Vibration, adaptive triggers and invert look should all be off, those are just annoying features. I use the standard control type for third and first person, so the button layout, but you can change it if you want to. Now this is so important, I have all these settings for third person and first person maxed out. I see some players in deathmatches that turn like a truck because they haven't changed their sensitivity. So all this will just make you look around faster and move around faster. I recommend first increasing it a little bit so you can get used to it, and do that till you have it all the way up. Allow movement when zoomed should be turned on, this is for when you are sniping. If you have this turned off you can't move and you will just be a standing target. Also a quick tip, if you are sniping go into first person, that way you can move faster from left to right. Switch handbrake with dock/hydraulics is off, and then drive-by control type is aim plus fire. If you just set it to fire it will start shooting immediately and you can't aim. Light bar effects on, this is just the light on your controller, so it doesn't really matter, although it's cool because it shows your crew color and it flashes blue and red when you have a wanted level. So those are all the control settings. Moving on to audio. I have SFX volume and music full, dialogue boost off, voice chat retain radio volume, controller speaker on and set to 50%. Now a more important setting, camera. I have independent camera modes off, I'm not even sure what this does. Vehicle camera height set to high instead of low, this makes it way easier to drive cause you're able to see more. Now some first person camera settings. Auto level camera on, first person on foot FOV all the way up so it will be more zoomed out. If you turn first person ragdoll and combat roll off, you will switch to third person automatically when ragdolling or when you're doing a combat roll. You can't really see anything when you ragdoll in first person, so turn those off. Also turn off first person head bobbing so your screen doesn't shake as much when running. Turn on first person third person cover, same reason as for the other settings, you can't really see anything in first person when in cover. Also turn on first person vehicle auto center. First person vehicle HUD should be turned off, but if you want the OG first person mode from PS3 and Xbox 360 turn it on. This is what that looks like. Lastly, turn on drive-by camera relative to vehicle. Next up we will go over the display settings. The first one is only on console and GTA Enhanced, so you can set it to Performance RT, Performance or Fidelity mode. Fidelity mode is 4K resolution, ray tracing and 30 FPS. Performance mode is upscaled 4K resolution and 60 FPS. And the best one, Performance RT, is a hybrid between the two, ray tracing, 4K resolution and 60 FPS. This one is the smoothest and I prefer FPS over resolution. Your radar and HUD should of course be turned on. My weapon target is simple, it's just a dot when you aim and you can change the size of it. I have it set to the smallest one to easily hit headshots. You can also select complex, then you have different weapon targets for different weapons. For example, an AR is a plus, a rocket launcher is a square and a shotgun is a dot with brackets. GPS route on and the next one is optional. I did have expanded radar turned on the first few years, you just have a bigger minimap all the time, but you can also expand it by double tapping down on the D-pad. Turn on player overhead display. This way another player's name will pop up above their head, even when you can't really see them. If they are in a bush or only have a part of their body exposed, their name will show up. This is very helpful. Change the brightness to whatever looks good on your monitor or TV. I like it a bit higher so I can see everything clearly, especially at night. I have motion blur strength all the way up, but to be honest, it's pretty useless, so if you want to maximize your gameplay, you should definitely turn it off. If you have in-game depth of field effects turned on and you're looking at something close by, the background will appear slightly out of focus. If you are focusing at an object in a distance, the foreground will be out of focus. That's called depth of field. If it's turned off, that blurring is removed. It's a personal choice, so try both and see what you prefer. Screen kill effects are the effects that appear when you kill someone. Your screen will glow or flash for a second. This is nice to know when you actually killed someone. Subtitles are off, but you can turn it on, and measurement system is imperial, so mile or metric, aka kilometers. I have voice chat off, as well as all these notification options and message frequency 1 hour. Some players also have the motion sensor function turned on. Make sure it's off, otherwise you will stare when you move your controller. Now that we did settings, let's take a look at options. It's in your pause menu under online. The first one that matters is allow spectators. By default, this will be on, so if you didn't know, other players can spectate you via the TV in their property. Some players have it turned off, as you can see, an eye with a cross will show, so turn this option off. Next we have matchmaking. If you set it on closed, whenever you start a job you will always be the host. However, if you want to join a lobby with other players, open up matchmaking. Player overhead display can be changed to name and crew tag, marker only, none or name. What this does is when you approach other players, an arrow, their name and sometimes also their crew tag will show up. That's helpful if you quickly want to know who you are dealing with. Filter quick join content. If you want to join those fun player created jobs, change it to user created only. There are a few more options inside of your interaction menu. First go to manage vehicles, vehicle preferences, and set vehicle access to passenger or no one, just so other players can drive away with your personal vehicle. Next I recommend going to preferences, phone contact favorites, and only keep the important contacts turned on. Also hide as many map lip options or all of them so your map won't look like this, but like this, way cleaner. Another pretty important setting is the player targeting priority. Set it to everyone so you will lock on to every player. You could also set it to attackers if you're playing with friends. Now I will showcase the best settings for PC, mostly graphic settings to get 240 FPS in 4K resolution and to make GTA 5 feel and look better in general. So these are high-end PC settings, and by the way, all these settings are for GTA 5 Enhanced. Pause game on focus loss doesn't really matter, but I have it turned on. Now this next one is probably already the most important setting. Here you can change your resolution and refresh rate. This all comes down to what kind of monitor you have. I have a 4K 240Hz monitor, so I can select 3840 by 2160 with a refresh rate of 240Hz. If you change the screen type setting to full screen borderless, it should automatically adapt to your monitor. So it might even be the case that you have a high refresh monitor, but the game setting is still only set to 30 or 60 Hz, so change that and it will increase your FPS, cause the refresh rate of your monitor is the same amount of frames per second you will get in GTA 5. I have frame limit turned off and then VSync as well as Nvidia Reflex on. VSync helps reducing screen tearing and Nvidia Reflex reduces system latency and increases PC responsiveness. Then we move on to the ray tracing settings. I of course have that on, cause this will make your game look 10 times better. Ray tracing is pretty much the reflection in other objects and surfaces. So for example here, I have the camera pointed at this window and you can exactly see what's happening in the reflection. So it won't just be a blurry reflection, but it will be detailed. It also helps with water reflections, so if the streets are wet it will look really cool. I have all these ray traced options on Ultra, high resolution ray traced reflections on, and ray tracing scene BVH quality very high. This increases the quality of all ray tracing features by including more objects in reflections, shadows and lighting, so that's an important one. Now I have frame scaling turned off. If you have a high-end PC or at least one with good specs, keep this off, but if you have a lower range PC, turning this setting on will improve your frames per second. Now here we have a brand new setting which only got added last week, frame generator. Long story short, this significantly improves your FPS, but keep in mind that this setting doesn't support full screen as your screen type, so make sure you change it to full screen borderless. Now this may be different for you, but I will select the Nvidia DLSS and the frame generation mode to 4x. Sharpness turned up all the way, and then in the quality settings from top to bottom, very high, times 16, ultra, very high, ultra, ultra. Moving on to the lighting, ultra, ultra, very high, on, and maxed out. Post FX ultra, high, and I have motion blur strength off, but some people prefer to have this on. It pretty much slightly blurs the screen when you quickly move your camera around to give it a speedy effect. For the scene settings, I just have everything maxed out. This will make the game feel more lively cause there will be a lot more NPCs and cars. Here's a comparison for with and without DLSS. You can see that my FPS is 3 times higher with DLSS, so this setting is definitely a game changer. So those are my PC settings. If you want to see the best graphics settings for mid and low range PCs, click the card in the top right, leave a like if this video helped you out, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye!